Hello, hello, and welcome to Free to Choose Forgiveness, our conversations with Chosen Pen. And as you've seen for the last few weeks and last few months, we've been talking about forgiveness. And as you know, if you know me anyway at all, that's one of my common topics. And I think that is the foundation for all mental health, all of our problems. Once we solve the forgiveness piece, then our life we'll be able to live our life in peace, joy, and happiness. But I am so happy to have with us today someone who's experienced forgiveness for herself. And she's coming to share with us exactly how she's done that, why she's had to do that, and how she feels about it. So hopefully you will stay tuned, and all of us, all of you, will be blessed by our conversations that we will have today. So, when nothing else, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to you because she has a lot to say. But I will say, I've only known this young lady for a few months, maybe 6 months, seven, but seems like for a lifetime now.
I know her.
But she feels like one of my own daughters as well. You know, I get them along the way. But she's one that I really love and have confidence in, and help her as she walks along her process of forgiveness. So anyway, tonight we have Miss Laquita Ricks, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Norma. This is such an honor, to be here. First, my name is Laquita Ricks. I am from the great state of Louisiana, down south. I professionally, I'm an HR consultant for the state of Louisiana, and in my business, I am a divorce coach, and I help women get back to that place that they once were before divorce. I like to always tell them, you're not starting over, you're starting with experience. And, as divorcees, we go through so many different phases. And a lot of women don't know how to get out. So I like to be able to help those women figure out how to reclaim their life after divorce.
Okay, well then let's jump right in here and talk about
Okay.
forgiveness.
Okay.
And you say you're a divorce coach. So
Yes.
let's talk about how forgiveness fits in to that process, into that divorce process. Did you experience that prior to your divorce, after your divorce, or just talk to us a little bit about that?
You know, Forgiveness for me took a minute. It wasn't an easy process. But first, I had to admit my part in the marriage, in the divorce,
Mm.
and the role that I played. And once I was able to do that, and, it was easy for me to forgive him and to forgive myself. Sometimes we get so caught up in blaming someone else, but we don't take the responsibility of the role that we played as well, regardless if we stayed too long or, whatever the case may be. And so once I was able to forgive myself, the forgiveness started for him. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we won't talk too much about your story, but we do know that in that story, there's some pain, some bitterness, some roots that have grown deep.
hmm
So let's talk a little bit about that because I think our audience would like to know your experiences with that. And you talked about that you forgave yourself, but how did you actually overcome that and bring yourself to a point where you know today where you are, that you're living with peace?
You know what? I got a therapist. Having a therapist was
Thank
the best thing that I could have done. Even I still have a therapist to this day.
you.
And I don't ever think that I will be without one because, I needed someone that was going to walk through that process with me. And although I had a therapist when I first got divorced, and I didn't have a therapist for years. And then I got another therapist within the last 2 years. And I really realized during that period that I didn't have a therapist how much I needed one and how valuable they are. Um, yeah. So for that process for me was with a therapist. I had to do the work. I had to do the work on myself. And I had to really look in the mirror and be like, who is Laquita? What does she like? What she don't like? Like I really had to do that internal work in order to get to that area of forgiveness.
Okay, so let's say it's safe to say that as when we have partners or supposedly life partners, that usually we end up losing part of ourselves. And I guess that's what it means when two become one. Part of you is gone, and part of that other oneness comes aboard with you. And after the divorce, or during the divorce, or at some part during the time of the relationship, did you ever feel that you were lost? That there was no you, or there was more of the person that you were in the relationship with than you? If that made any sense.
You know, I don't think I felt like I was lost. I'm not gonna say I was lost. I was I knew that I shouldn't have been in that marriage from jump. I knew before I got married that that wasn't where I was supposed to be. And because it was I was in a domestic violence marriage. And it was, I didn't get lost. I just had to figure out how to get out of that.
Okay.
Safely. So no, I didn't get lost. I just had to make a decision, and I had to grow up and be a woman and be like, you know what, you can do this by yourself. You don't need anybody else to help you take care of kids. Like, you can do this. And so once I got that power and reclaimed my own power, then it was over. Like, although I was still in the marriage, mentally, I had already checked out. Okay. I was onto another thing. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting, because I know a lot of women who are trapped or feel trapped in that relationship, unfortunately. And I think some of the words that you have are things that you can say, well, you're not trapped. God does not want you to be a doormat. God does not want you to be in this type of relationship. He created us to have peace and happiness. Right. So having you say that, and having you say, okay, no, this is not what we want. This is not what it's meant for me to be. Then I can overcome this by doing. And especially saying about the therapist, because you know how we feel about that.
Yeah, it's such a cliche especially in the Black community. You know, the first thing that when you tell somebody you see a therapist, well, back then it's becoming more of the thing to have now. But 5 years ago, that was not a thing for us in the Black community. They thought you were crazy if you were getting a therapist. And I think you're crazy if you don't have a therapist.
And I agree with you 100%. 100%. Because we have so many issues, and I think it's time that we start to realize that we need help.
Yes, absolutely.
We need more help than what my mom, my aunt, or whatever, and even outside the church. I'm a strong proponent for you to believe, but I think that God also tells us you need help.
Right.
And He's provided people with that type of education in order to help you.
Yes.
So let's get the help. And we usually have it on our insurance policies or our own. So it's really not a lot of problem that we shouldn't get it or don't get it. And there are a lot of volunteer therapists out there that will help you as well.
Absolutely.
And try to make us whole again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talk to us about being whole. And once you got past that, how did you feel?
Oh, once I got past that, I was unstoppable once I got past it. I was unstoppable. I was like, oh my goodness, like, who is this woman? You know, like, I grew up, my grandparents raised me. My dad had a military background, but by the time my grandparents started raising me, he wasn't in the military anymore, but he still had that foundation, right? Although he was a gentle giant, and he still encouraged me, and he thought I could move mountains, he thought I could move mountains. And after he passed, they always say that, once that foundation is laid for kids, regardless,
Mhm.
if they can leave for years from whatever, but they gonna always return to what those roots that they were
Mhm.
taught. And once I regained that, oof, it was over. It was over.
All right. Well, I think I found that when I first met you.
Yes, people when they first meet me, they, kind of like, ooh, I don't know about her. I know she's a strong person. I know, she's that strong person.
Mhm.
But who is she really? And once I, kind of let that guard down with people, and kind of let them in,
Mhm.
they kind of learn the softer side of Laquita.
Okay. Well, see, I don't know if I ever got a chance to see the hard side, because I think in our conversations and when we were in Africa, whatever, that it was more of a friendship kind of
Yes,
relationship, I
yes,
guess, that we were
yes,
all there sharing some of the same things. So,
yes,
okay. So it was wonderful getting to know you anyway.
yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about, and I think we've already addressed this to some degree, but let's give it a little more, put a little more meat on it, talking
Okay.
about the benefits of forgiveness. Um, let's talk about the benefits or the detriments. If you had not gone through the forgiveness process, where would you be today?
I would be bitter. I would be have a lot of resentment. Probably I would be um just mean. Those mean girls when they want to blame everyone else,
Mhm.
um, except for the person that's in the mirror. If I hadn't, if I didn't go through that forgiveness process, holding on to forgiveness, that's too heavy. Like it costs too much to hold on to forgiveness. And I just don't want that burden to, I don't want to carry that burden of holding on to whatever it is. And most people, the people that you're mad at, most time they don't even know that you're mad.
I know, I know.
They don't even know that you haven't forgiven them. They moved on with their life and they think that you should have too. And um we're commanded to love everybody regardless of the situation, you know. Um, and so that's what I'm learning now, regardless of how people treat me or how I perceive a situation, I'm still commanded to love them. I may not like them all the time, but I'm still commanded to love them.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of women, and hopefully if they're listening today, that they can understand that you can forgive them, but that doesn't mean you have to socialize with them.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Once you cut it off, cut it off.
cut it
But I
off.
can still forgive you. I just don't need you in my presence.
Right. But
Hmm.
even if you see them or pass by them on the street, hopefully there is no bitterness still towards that person. If it is, then we need to work on that process a little bit more. But you still don't have to stop and have a conversation with them if you don't want to. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, and I can see my ex-husband now, and because we're from the same town,
Mm.
and if I go back to that town and I happen to see him, if he speak, 99.9% of the time he's going to speak, um, and I'm going to speak back. Like I'm not going to give anyone that type of hold over me, not to be cordial and not to. It don't take anything to say hello and to be
Right.
nice.
And that's
Hmm.
what, and I think we get back to what God has asked us to do, and the part you talked about earlier about showing love. If
Hmm.
we all know, you have to love, and part of that love is showing kindness.
Hmm.
And so we have to be kind. If kindness is shown, we have to show kindness. I mean, you wouldn't run over them in the street if they were out there hurt. You might try to get some help for them. Uh,
Right.
but if there's bitterness, and you still have that bitterness, and that root of bitterness is still deep down, you might not get them any help, and you might run over them on the street. But we don't want that. So that's the part where we're trying to get past the anger, the hurt, and move on. Because we know that if you cannot ask for forgiveness and say you're forgiven if you don't replace that bitter root with love.
Right.
And
Right.
that love is God. And if you don't do that, then you're still out here shuffling around pretending, and when you see that person again, there are still some issues.
Yeah, and I always have to go back to, how many times have God forgiven me
Yeah.
for just whatever? And we sometimes don't offer people that same grace
Mhm.
that God offers us. So, that's kind of how I have to look at it now. I had to grow into that though. I wasn't always like that.
Well, we all have to kind of grow into that, but
Yeah.
I think once you get to that point,
Hmm.
and then we do what I call a lifetime of forgiveness, a living forgiveness, that we know that forgiveness is not just a one-time process.
Right.
You may do it now, but someone else steps on your toe in a few minutes. You can't curse them out. You still got to forgive them and
Right.
move on, because the more you dwell in that, the more you stay in that, then you have issues, and not, I mean, you have personal issues. You're not
Absolutely.
going to be able to have peace in your life and show love to others.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about the unforgivable, because I'm sure some of those things that you've experienced probably felt like the unforgivable
Hmm.
uh, in some points. And let's talk about that and see what you can tell others about how they should overcome, because domestic violence, as we know, is very prevalent in our communities today.
Right.
Um, and a lot of us, once we get out of that, or them when they get out of that particular situation, don't feel that they should have to forgive them. That is the unforgivable. You've hurt me. You've broken my body. You not only, it may not be physical, but mental abuse. You have me, my mind is all messed up just
Right.
because of things you said to me and accused me of.
Right. And that is very true. A lot of women come out of domestic violence situations and they automatically think, well, I don't ever have to forgive him. But the thing about it is, forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you, so you can move on and walk into whatever purpose God had for your life. And I can remember going through all of this, going through all of that, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, why am I going through this? Like, why? And, I had to realize that what I went through, I realized that now. What I went through wasn't for me, it was for someone else.
Else.
And, as women, we have to know that the things that we go through, it's not for us. We're not that special for for God to say, oh, this for you. You're going to learn something out of it, but it's for you to help someone else as well.
Mhm. And that's so important, because even in our writing, our speaking, and whatever it
Hmm.
is that we do in our daily lives, of course, God put us here for a purpose. And as long as we're walking in that purpose, no matter what is happening in our lives, we know it's usually for someone else.
Yeah, it is.
We're here to help build the kingdom. So whatever it is that we're doing, we're trying to bring other people into the kingdom. We're already there. So
Hmm.
it can't be for me, because I'm already there. So it has to be to help to bring someone else
Right.
into the kingdom. And I
Right.
think once we realize that and come to that conclusion, then it's easier for us to be able to forgive, because you motivated yourself and you put yourself at a higher place. You move yourself to a level where God is speaking to you, the Holy Spirit is dealing with you, and you actually listening to what
Right.
they're saying.
That's so true. So
Yeah.
true.
Okay, so let's talk about your walk. We have a couple of minutes. We used to go about 20 minutes, so we have a couple of more
Okay.
minutes.
Okay.
Let's talk about I think you've talked about this a little bit, but let's talk about what forgiveness includes, all the things that it includes, and how we could overcome those things or be positive about those things.
What does it include? Um, Forgiveness includes um, forgiving yourself,
Very good.
forgiving the person that hurt you, doing that internal work. Um, and forgiveness includes showing up for yourself. Like, I didn't realize the importance of showing up for myself in that forgiveness stage, because sometimes we get so stuck in wanting to not forgive someone that we forget to move our feet. And you just have to move your feet during that forgiveness process. So I would just say during that process, what's included is moving your feet. Don't get stuck there. That's not a healthy place to be.
Okay, so we know we have to move. I've had people tell me
Yep.
I've got to move. I got to be able to move beyond the hurt. I've got to learn to love myself. I've got to realize that I am worthy. And I know I've done Bible studies with women and similar to your situations and just try to teach them, you are worthy. God made you. He made you to be loved because he loves you. You probably are angry with God right now. You're angry with yourself right now. You're angry with the other person right now. You're angry with the world because you're trying to figure out why is this happening?
Yeah.
As you said, why is this happening to me? Why, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? And we've had Christian women who are in those types of situations who believe that I'm in it. God said, I should not leave because we are married and he put us together. And I'm saying, well, baby, yeah, at this point, obviously you all are truly unequally yoked.
Right.
You need to, if he is not, then you need to take him before the church. Y'all need to get something to happen here because
Right.
there's no way you should be living in this type of situation.
Absolutely. I don't think any woman, when physical abuse start, I think women have to that has reached another level once physical abuse has started. And God himself don't want you in that situation.
Right.
He don't he love us so much till he don't want a hair on our head out of place.
Amen.
And we have to know that God love us just that much. And there is I don't care if you are married. If physical abuse has started, y'all better get somewhere, get some counseling. And if that doesn't work, then you need to go your separate ways because it's too many women now getting killed because they stayed because they were married.
Yes. And that much. And read your Bible, read your scriptures. You don't find where anything in there that tells you that.
Right. Right.
It tells you to stay, but look, even between adultery, abuse, any of those things, if you're both Christians, then you have an obligation to try to work that out. But if he starts hitting you, then obviously he's not, because he is supposed to love you the way Christ loves the church. And Christ laid down his life for the church. So that person is supposed to lay down his life for you. He's supposed to love you so much that he would give his life for you. And if he's hitting on you and beating on you, obviously he does not love you that much.
Absolutely.
So then, you have some scriptures there to back up that type of thing, as well as he probably needs some help himself and trying to find him get him some help too.
Yeah. And, also have a good support system. Your support system during that time is going to play a pivotal role in your life. And so you have to know the people that you can count on. You have to know your because sometimes you can't even pray for yourself when you're going through.
Right.
And you have to have some prayer warriors on your team that's going to pray you through some things. And so I believe in having a strong circle that if I can't pray for myself, I know I can call somebody that can.
Amen. But unfortunately, usually when you're being abused, and there's difficulty in having that support system.
It is.
Because you don't want anyone to know that that's happening to you.
Yes, it's the shame. It's the shame that so many people go through, and it's very unfortunate. But the thing about it is, you can't. Shame will kill you.
Yes.
Shame will kill you because it's going to keep you stuck somewhere that you should have left. And so shame will definitely kill you.
Yeah, and we know that shame is a trick of Satan. Because we have so many people out there who love us and care for us, but with feeling like we are not loved, feeling like we're not worthy, feel all those feelings that we have allowed to seep into our minds, into those little 4 inches between our head, which we know are schemes of Satan. They're not true, but we cannot overcome them alone.
Yeah.
And then, but you don't want to talk to anybody. It's difficult for you to say that to someone. So again, that's where the therapist comes in, because you can always go to that therapist and kind of get yourself to a point where you can find a good support group or support. If it's not your family, if you're still not comfortable with that, but some group or someone that can give you, that you can lean on.
Absolutely.
Okay. All righty then. Okay. So we are coming down to the end of our 30 minutes now. So, and I think Miss Ricks disappeared somewhere. I'm not sure, Laquita. But while we're waiting on her to come back, we'll talk a little bit more about forgiveness and our forgiveness. Oh, there she is.
There he is.
Okay, there you are. We were just going to say, we're going to just talk a little bit. We'll be going to South Africa in the next 2 or 3 weeks to a forgiveness conference, or forgiveness, whatever we're calling that there. But it is for women. This is National or International Women's Month. So we'll be talking to women again about forgiveness there. So we're excited about that. I know a lot of you have signed up, and a lot of you, more of you that cannot go, but hopefully we'll be able to get some of it televised, so you'll be able to share with us with that. But we will be continuing our forgiveness piece. We have some books coming out now about children and forgiveness, or my latest one is Dear Dad, Why Don't You Love Me? It's a book for middle schoolers about little boys. And we feel that so many of our children are also going through the unforgiveness process and don't even know why they are doing that. So we're looking at the boys, and that is a problem we know that not only the United States, but in South Africa as well as global. But I feel, I guess it's my personal opinion, that if we can get all these little boys to overcome the hurt that they don't realize where it's coming from, but if their fathers are absent from their lives emotionally, mentally, physically, or however, that, and forgive their fathers for not being there, that they will be able to move on and find closure in their lives as they move forward with peace and able to do a lot more with their lives. So that's some of the things that we'll be doing. We'll be talking about that in Africa as well as back here in the States in the near future.
Love it.
Okay, Ms. Ricks, you can give us some final thoughts or some final words of wisdom.
Well, my final thoughts is, forgiveness is for you, and don't be afraid to forgive people. I think people get afraid to forgive people.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. People get afraid to forgive people, but go ahead and forgive them. Forgive that hurts. Forgive yourself, and walk into your purpose in whatever God has for you. It's so much more on the other side of forgiveness than it is on that backside.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much peace, so much joy. I mean, it's amazing how walking in daily forgiveness, that you don't have to worry about the stress that you carry with unforgiveness.
That's true.
And the sickness and the pain that we know that stress can cause. We know the majority of our illnesses evolves from stress and anxiety. But we know forgiveness is the foundation of mental wellness. So if we can get past the forgiveness piece, then obviously that goes right to us being stress-free. And we would be so excited for you to do that and to learn that and to move and to be able to walk in peace while you're on your journey to have peace and happiness and joy.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Ricks. And hopefully I said, I don't know what that prayer is about Africa, but if we see you, we see you. We don't just be coming to us in the near future.
Yes, well. I would definitely come to you guys in the near future.
So we're looking forward to that. So because you will be truly missed.
All right.
Okay. All right. So look forward to seeing you soon. And everyone, Ms. Ricks has a lot of information that she didn't even put up there. And you would like to add about your book, and we didn't even talk about that. I
Well,
guess
you
you'll
know
have to
what?
come back.
Yeah, I'll have to come back. I'll have to come back. But you know, you can follow me over on IG at the Laquita Ricks, or over on Facebook. Just type in Laquita Ricks. I'm very interactive with everybody. So yeah, so follow me over there. I have some exciting things that's coming up the pipeline that I can't announce just yet, but I'm excited about.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I was really, really excited that I missed all the big activity that you had after we left, after they left DC and left me there, and they went on to see you.
Yes, we had a good time.
Yeah, so he goes, I don't know if this is the one you need to go to. Well, okay. I said, I understand what that means. Okay.
We had a good time, you know.
Yes. Good. That's good. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, we're getting ready to sign off. If you have any other questions, please put them in the notes of the contents at the bottom of the page, and we will certainly answer them as quickly and expeditiously as we can. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. And God forgives you. God loves you. And so do I. Okay. Let's see. Okay.
All righty.
I think we are. Well, hold on just a second.